So I'm the course convener and lecturer for Phys 3118, which is the quantum physics of solids. It's a third-year course, an elective for both our science students and our quantum engineering students at UNSW, so spread across 2 faculties. We conducted an oral exam for the first time last year as part of our course. The exam, it was a 30-minute exam period that the students could book their time on Moodle. It was one student at a time with the 2 lecturers in the room. The exam itself went for 20 minutes of that 30 minutes. And the format was 4 questions, which each one of those was pulled from a different part of the course. When the student came into the room, we used this electronic whiteboard for recording the exam. We also had a camera set up and audio recording just to keep track of everything that went on. So the student came into the exam, we explained how this whiteboard would work. They then got an opportunity to use it, to write their name, to delete, erase things, blow up things, move the canvas around. And then the exam started. So they were given these 4 questions, not on a piece of paper, as they would for a regular exam. They got 3 minutes reading time. And so they had about 5 minutes to answer each question. We explained to the students that we were happy to receive the answers in any format. So they could answer the questions by drawing on the whiteboard, writing, they could talk to us, they could point at things. And because we had a record of everything that went on, all of those formats were considered part of an acceptable answer. What we were really wanting to test was a conceptual understanding of what goes on in this course. Each of the questions was broken down to a number of sub-questions. Some of those followed on from the one before. If the students started off and they went on completely the wrong track, we asked them to look at the question again. We said, please have a look at it again. Think about what you're going to do. If they really got stuck, we would actually help them get to the next stage, but then took that into account in the grading. As part of each question, there were a series of standard follow-up questions, where it was not a question that was written on the page, but it was to really get the student to explain their understanding of what the answer that they've given. By doing that, we could actually assess a much deeper understanding whether someone is just memorizing something from a textbook, or do they actually understand this to a good degree. Right, so we actually changed the format for tutorials for this course. Normally what we would have in tutorials is a tutor standing up the front, answering the tutorial questions on a board. We did something quite different for this course. We switched the room actually to a room that was more of a a meeting room format, which had a number of small group tables. Each of those tables had a whiteboard. And then in the weekly tutorials, instead of having one tutor there solving the questions for the students, we encourage the students to work in groups to solve the questions. And then the lecturers also came to these tutorials and offered the students an opportunity to answer one of the questions in this oral exam format. And so then we were able to give them feedback throughout the course about what were the expectations, what they could do to improve their answer right from the beginning of the course, from week 1, and that continued throughout. This course is quite broad in the range of topics it covers, so there's a limited number of different written questions that we could ask. And as the university has transitioned to uninvigilated exams, as well as with, I'd say, the rise of online tools like ChatGPT and other generative AI things, it became hard to think of questions that could not be answered by AI to some degree. And so the oral exam is a way that we thought that is actually, we're able to get a better understanding of how much the student has understood themselves in the course. It's also a really good preparation for the student for their future careers. I've spent a lot of my career in industry and come back to academia quite recently. I have hired into technical roles probably several hundred candidates over the past almost decade. And one thing that's regularly used in technical fields is these technical skills assessments in a job interview. And often what happens is that the candidate will have to explain something that's related to the job, work it out on a whiteboard for a coding job. If we are hiring for an electronics engineer, it might be designing or analyzing a circuit. For a physicist, it might be explaining some physical effect. And these types of technical skills assessments are really how our students will go out and get jobs in the future and be assessed on their actual competence. Another thing we noticed after the pandemic is that our students are really they're hungry for personal contact and personal interaction. They want to know that it's not some AI black box that's grading them, that their grades and their future is being set by real people that they have a relationship with, their lecturers, and that's where a lot of value is being added in that personal relationship. And so many of our students actually gave us feedback after the exam about how much they enjoyed this interpersonal interaction and how much it actually helped them prepare for their understanding of the course.